Modern society is not a fortress. It is a mirage, and the moment its delicate clockwork stops, the countdown to an entirely new reality begins. Most people won't make it to day 90. We live inside an ecosystem of silent agreements and unseen deliveries. The food appears on shelves. Water pours from taps. Light fills the room at the flick of a switch. We have mistaken this convenience for permanence, this routine for reality. It is an illusion of stability, a beautiful and complex trick that functions only as long as every single gear keeps turning. But what happens when the first gear slips? The truth is, the gears are already slipping. The end of the world you know won't arrive with a bang. It will arrive with a series of hushed, almost apologetic failures. A flickering streetlight you don't notice. A news broadcast that seems repetitive and vague. Your online grocery order is inexplicably canceled. The gas pump at your usual station is out of order, with a faded sorry sign taped to it. These are not inconveniences. They are symptoms. They are the first, quiet coughs of a system entering respiratory failure. Human psychology is wired to dismiss the abnormal, to explain it away. This is the greatest vulnerability in the first phase. We are experts in rationalization. It's a temporary glitch, you'll tell yourself. They'll have it fixed by tomorrow. This rationalization is a sedative. It keeps the population calm, seated, and waiting for a solution that may no longer exist. What if tomorrow looks exactly like today, only a little worse? This period, these first fragile hours, is the most critical window you will ever have. It is the golden hour of awareness. The world outside your window still looks normal. Traffic flows. People walk their dogs. But the air feels different, thicker, charged with a silent question no one is asking aloud. This is the moment of decisive advantage. While others refresh their dead phone screens, waiting for an update, the aware are moving. Their actions are simple, silent, and profound. They fill every available container with water, knowing it is the first resource to become contested. They secure their physical space. They convert digital assets into tangible, useful tools. Cash, batteries, fuel. They do not panic. They execute a plan that existed long before this moment. A plan built not on stockpiles of fear, but on pillars of principle. The difference between them and the coming crowd is measured in these quiet, preparatory hours. By the second dawn, the illusion begins to fray at the edges. The signs are no longer whispers. They are visible to anyone who looks. You drive to a second, then a third supermarket. The parking lots are unusually full. Inside, the atmosphere has shifted. There's a tension in the air, a low-frequency hum of anxiety. The shelves in the staples aisle, canned goods, pasta, rice, are patchy, then bare. People aren't just shopping. They are hoarding with a frantic, vacant look in their eyes. The social script is being rewritten in real time. Politeness evaporates. A cart bumps into another, and instead of an "excuse me," there is a hard, warning stare. This is the second great failure, the collapse of social trust. The unspoken agreement that we are all in this together dissolves under the weight of individual fear. The systems of authority we lean on reveal their shocking fragility. Police are visible, but overwhelmed, islanders in a rising sea of distress calls. Their priority shifts from protecting property to simply maintaining some semblance of order in key locations, abandoning the rest. The thin blue line isn't just stretched, it is dissolving. Then, the power fails. Not as a dramatic citywide blackout, but in a staggered, neighborhood-by-neighborhood surrender. One grid section overloads and goes dark. Then another. The hum of civilization is replaced by a profound, unsettling silence. In that silence, fear grows teeth. Hospitals, those beacons of last resort, become tombs of fading technology. Backup generators roar to life, but they are designed for hours, not days. As their fuel runs low, the machines that sustain life, ventilators, dialysis units, refrigeration for medicines, begin to stutter and stop. The first casualties are not from violence, but from the absence of the very systems that defined a civilized society. They pass quietly, in dark rooms, attended by helpless loved ones. This silent triage is the true beginning of the new epoch. The end of the world is not an explosion. It is the slow, sure dimming of every light you trusted to stay on. By the end of the first week, the city has entered a new state of being. It is not lawless chaos, but a chilling, hyper-vigilant stillness. The streets are not filled with rioters, they are empty. People have retreated into their homes, which have transformed from shelters into fortresses and prisons simultaneously. Windows are boarded, doors are barricaded. Every sound from the street outside, a footstep, a snapped twig, a distant shout, is analyzed, categorized as threat or anomaly. You are no longer a citizen. You are a sentry in your own home. This is when the most dangerous transformation occurs, the internal shift from community member to isolated survivor. The neighbor you borrowed sugar from is now a potential liability. The family across the street, a source of unknown needs and unknown resources. Trust, once given freely, becomes the most precious and rarest commodity. It is not earned. It is negotiated in glances and measured words from behind a cracked door. Can you truly know what hunger will drive a person to do? Survival logic undergoes a brutal inversion. Abundance becomes danger. To have is to be a target. The glow of a candle, the smell of cooking meat, the distinctive sound of a water filter. These are no longer signs of life, but dangerous broadcasts. You learn to live in the shadows, to move silently, to cook without scent, to exist without leaving a trace. You become a phantom in the shell of your former life. A new, savage economy erupts from the ashes of the old. Currency is worthless paper. Value is reassigned with ruthless pragmatism. A single bottle of iodine for purifying water is worth more than a stacked pile of gold watches. A full propane cylinder is a king's ransom. Antibiotics are a currency of life itself. But the ultimate wealth is not in goods, but in knowledge. The individual who can suture a wound, who can identify edible plants in a vacant lot, who can rig a silent alarm, or who understands basic mechanical repair, holds more real power than any former billionaire. This economy operates in whispers and shadows. Barter points emerge in forgotten spaces, beneath highway overpasses, in the back rooms of looted stores. Exchanges are tense, rapid, eyes constantly scanning for double crosses. It is trade stripped bare of all pretense, a raw transaction of need. As the first month grinds to a close, a grim, mechanical rhythm establishes itself. This is the phase of bleak acceptance. The hope for a swift rescue has bled away, replaced by the stark arithmetic of endurance. You eat precise, small rations at designated times, not when hungry. Sleep is a shallow, fractured thing, constantly interrupted by your turn-on watch. Every action, from boiling water to walking to the window, is audited for its caloric cost. The mind and body enter a state of managed depletion. Exhaustion is not an event, it is the atmosphere. How long can a community last when its primary fuel is dread? Preparation is not the act of storing things, but of shedding the illusion that you will never need them. The second and third months serve as a great filter, separating the enduring from the ephemeral. The initial, fear-based groups that formed for safety begin to fracture under the relentless pressure of scarcity. The calculus of survival becomes horrifically simple. The food your group has can feed 5 people for 2 weeks, or 8 people for 1. Who gets left out? These are not moral decisions, they are biological equations. Alliances shatter. That once friendly face is now a competitor for the last can of beans. From this brutal filtering, something new and hardened begins to coalesce. Isolated, high-trust pods form around indispensable resources or critical skills. A cluster of homes around a working hand pump well becomes an aquatic fortress. A group with a member who knows regenerative gardening becomes a slowly expanding green cell in the concrete graveyard. A mechanic who can keep a solar array running becomes the quiet, essential patriarch of a micro-settlement. Leadership is no longer about charisma. It is about demonstrated, life-saving competence. These new micro-societies are paranoid, insular, and fiercely territorial. Their borders are not on maps, but in the minds of their members. The burnt-out car marking the safe perimeter, the tripwire across a certain alley. Communication with other groups is minimal, conducted through cautious envoys or symbolic markings. The world has shattered into 1,000 silent, warring fragments. 90 days. The transformation is total. The landscape is no longer recognizably modern. Weeds split the asphalt. Vines climb silent streetlights. The air, absent the scent of exhaust, carries the smells of decay, of wood smoke, and of unchecked earth. The soundscape is dominated by wind, by animals reclaiming space, and occasionally by the sharp, distant sounds of conflict. The population has been irrevocably reduced, not by a singular, cinematic plague, but by the relentless attrition of 1,000 vanished comforts, infected minor cuts, diabetic comas, asthma without inhalers, the slow dehydration of the confused elderly. The old world was a vast, invisible life support system. When it was unplugged, those dependent on its every function were the first to fade. Who is left? The survivors are a new breed. They are not the strongest in the brute sense, nor the most aggressive. They are the most adaptable, the most observant, the ones who listen to their intuition in the golden hour. They are the pragmatists who valued knowledge over possessions, flexibility over rigid plans, and community, real, tangible, small-scale community, over abstract ideals. They have learned the fundamental truth. Civilization was not a state of nature, but a collective story we told ourselves. When the story ended, they were the ones ready to pick up the pen and start writing a new, darker, but more honest chapter. This progression, from glitch to fracture to silent crisis to new reality, is not random. It is the predictable output of human nature under extreme, sustained pressure. Fear follows patterns. Scarcity triggers predictable behaviors. Social collapse has a rhythm. To study this timeline is not to indulge in doom. It is to engage in the most vital form of situational awareness. It is to see the cliff edge from a mile away, while everyone else is still admiring the view. The purpose of this is not to paralyze you with fear, but to empower you with vision. It is to replace blind trust with clear-eyed understanding. To ask the simple, profound question, if the mirage faded, what would you actually see? And what would you do? Your preparation begins not in a warehouse of canned goods, but in the architecture of your own mind. It starts with the courage to look at the fragile clockwork of your life and acknowledge its fragility. It continues with the decision to learn one real, non-digital skill, to forge one genuine, local connection, to think through the first 3 steps you would take if the whispers began tomorrow. This is the mission of Winds of Thought, to provide not fear, but foresight, to build not bunkers, but resilient minds. If this resonates with you, your support is vital. Please like this video. It is the signal that helps these ideas reach those who need them. Subscribe and turn on notifications for Winds of Thought. The next chapter of human resilience is not written by fate, but by the choices of the aware.